Everyone, I'm Yvonne Richards, and we're running the Speakeasy. So this has been an event that we've hosted one previously, where we introduced you to the crew, myself, Chantel, and Jeff. Um, and the aim of the show is to give you a safe space where you can talk about topics that we don't talk about in the community. I think that one of the things we were really clear about when we set up Speakeasy was that to move into the 21st century, our community had to grow. But to grow, we had to move beyond or even challenge what we hold as traditional beliefs that are true to us, but may not be serving us anymore. We were interested in not just topics about health, but pushing the boundaries because we want to be a generation bigger, faster, stronger than we were before. And that means tackling some of the stuff that isn't easy to talk about. In saying that, yesterday was World AIDS Day in America. For those of you who know me already, I'm an HIV positive woman. And last week was National HIV Testing Week. So I've done a lot of shows on the TV, Channel 4 and the BBC, about living your best life with HIV. I thought it would be useful to talk about the stigma of HIV, but also to talk about what it's like to live as a Black person who is gay. So I welcomed Harvey Kennedy-Pitt to the show and was really pleased when he decided to join us. Now, an absolutely fabulous biography. It listed a host of things, by which time not only figuring out who his identity was, but also setting up his company, Black Beetle Enterprises. But rather than tell you all of the things that Harvey's done, I wanted to introduce him and then let Harvey start the story himself. Welcome, Harvey, and thank you for taking the time out to be on Speakeasy. It's fabulous that you want to talk to us again, because we were talking in the wings about your fab story. How do you figure out who you are? When did it begin? And how do you arc that into setting up a fantastic company, Black Beetle?
Well, Yvonne, thank you so much for having me this evening. I think it's such an amazing thing to get to talk about things and to discuss things. And I recognise that I am not very traditional in my approach to the things that I enjoy discussing and what I enjoy sharing, because I consider myself, and probably only just a year ago, really put a word to it and said, I think I might be a conversationalist. I think I enjoy conversations rather than just being chatty. I think I enjoy conversations, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to have, a conversation today, and it's not just sort of me just sort of lecturing in any sort of way. So yeah,
Oh, that makes
um, yeah.
so from the beginning. So there, I've got a backstory of, trying to come to terms with my HIV status. How did you figure out, at what point do you think, right, okay, I am not the same as everybody else, and then starting to put a finger on what the something else is that you may be?
Yeah, from a non-sexuality perspective, I definitely knew that I was very different to people from a very, very young age. I didn't really get on with most children, just to be quite honest. Exclusions were a regular part of my upbringing, moving from school to school, regular part of my experience. People knew, particularly in our sort of faith community, if they heard my name, it was problems. Okay, not because I was a bully, but because I was just a bit of a bit of a troublemaker, really. And I think it was a struggle to find myself and where I fit, and constantly going through the process of falling out with people as I was trying to explore sort of where I fit. When do I get to be the one that people enjoy being around and like, and enjoy being in the company of. And it took, it took all of that reflection on those experiences to really realize that's probably what was going on. It wasn't that I wasn't capable. It wasn't that I wasn't intelligent. It wasn't that I didn't have the means, I didn't have a supportive family. I was really lucky to have both of my parents support me throughout my upbringing, and they're still together today, which is something that we have to stop within our communities and go, oh, that's all right, that's interesting. It's not given that, our parents are still together. So I do think that I knew I was very different from a very young age. And that was very present in the way that I interacted with people.
And when you say your family was supportive, did you have a point where you said to them, okay, I think I'm gay, and they just said, yeah, no problem? What was supportive for you?
I think that would be amazing if that's how it happened. I do that was not how it happened. I think that, nor do I think that you come out once. I think that you come out for the rest of your life, because there is an assumption that people look at you and they at least give you a bit of a chance to maybe be something that they're not assuming that you might be. And so you do have to have that conversation multiple times throughout your lifetime. I still have to, every time I change jobs or I go to a new group of people, I'm having to come out again and sort of go through those reactions of, oh, right, okay, or, oh yeah, or even worse, oh, I know someone who's gay. If I hear that one more time, you see what I'm saying? So the process of coming out is ongoing. I don't think that we've arrived at a place where we stop coming out. I think that you continue to come out. And so even with my parents, it wasn't just once. It was little hints and tips and tricks and testing the waters and seeing what are they going to say about it. Obviously, my parents are very conservative. My dad was a pastor, and my mom was a pastor's wife and a nurse. So, you can do the calculation for yourself and see what the reaction of that is likely to have been.
My God, no, because I stopped already and I just thought, oh, is that Greenleaf, but over here in the UK? Because you said a pastor and a pastor's wife, and I just thought, oh.
I know, Greenleaf, yeah.
But I'm just thinking, that's heavy then, because tell me, how did you wrap your head around religion and your sexuality? Because I'm just thinking that is like hell and damnation, and then the pressure of, how do you walk through? Because I'm guessing, so primary school, secondary school, is it secondary school where you turn around and you're thinking, okay, I'm trying to find my space? I know, do you end up knowing your space and then turn around and say, right, drop in those hints?
Yeah, definitely. It's the age of 10 for me. So age of 10 is a very significant year for me. I remember, there's a person I describe, there's a chapter of a book I've written recently that's sort of up for publication. And I talk about this experience about this boy named Eric, and just sort of describing it as a flood of a bucket of ice rushing down my back, realizing, wait a minute, something's going on here, and not knowing what that was, other than hearing the term gay used in a derogatory type of sense toward me from other people. And I went, oh, so being gay is a bad thing. I get it. Thank you for all the help, all the comments. Thank you, everyone. And thinking that's where it was going to end, but recognizing, oh, I didn't realize that this is an actual identity. I didn't know. Why would I know that? We didn't have television till I was 8. We didn't have a computer in the house until I was 12. I wasn't tapping into the things. What I had church. I had my immediate family, I had my immediate community, and I went to my bed. That's what I did. That was my learning. That was my learning process. So
the Bible, because we had the Bible as well.
And I wasn't quite finding the page of where I could find the answers to that question. So I talk about that. It's sort of in that piece of writing that I do, and I speak about exploring after bedtime. Okay, when we go to bed, I loved going to bedtime. It meant the house was quiet and I can get up and explore the house. I can get up and explore the bookshelves. I could read, I can look, and then we got this computer and I could start to Google. And then we had dial-up. It had that sound, and you thought, goodness, it's going to wake the whole house up. But I've got to do this research. I've got to find out the answers to all these questions I have. And it seems like this box in front of me seems to have all the answers. This is phenomenal.
No, that sounds good. Yeah. The whole. Did you tell any of your friends? How did you manage it? Because you said you dropped hints to your parents. You're dropping hints that potentially they're not, I am not the person you think. So how do you get the support to put the yay, the nay on it? Did you dial up into the internet and find somewhere local in Manchester where you could go, or in your local area? Where do you find the support to be able to figure out who you are?
The thing is, I wasn't even looking for support. It wasn't about finding support to help. It was about finding understanding. And where I found safety was amongst the girls. Okay. And this is a classic sort of move that you see particularly represented in a lot of sort of television programs about films. You see people wrapping their company up. They surround themselves with the prettiest girls, the loudest girls, the girls who can fight the best, okay? Because no one's going to touch me. I'm going to surround myself with these amazing people. And then maybe in and amongst that, people will just think, oh, this is all just really fun and really funny. And they will not think that. And so that's what I did. And it was, I didn't consult. I didn't read it on the internet. I didn't ask someone, what should I do? And they said, oh, go hang out with the girls. It was natural. It was innate that I felt, I feel safe gravitating towards the female presenting people in my circles, because I felt that that was better than being with the lads and the blokes over here who were trying to bash my head in and calling me all different types of names. And I wasn't big enough to fight at that time. I'm now 6'2". I'm proud of it, and I wish they'd come for me now. But that's for another speakeasy. I'm not going to start that now. That's inappropriate. But it was, so that was the interim. It was the safety of being with sort of female presenting company. And I say female presenting company or feminine energy. I say that because it's not about being just being the traditional sense of being a woman. It was feminine energy felt safe because I was being criticized for having feminine energy, and I hate that femininity often gets sort of wrapped up in being gay, because there's loads of butch and brawly men out here who will do, will sort your business out, and they're also gay, and so we have a spectrum of presentations. But in my case, by association. So that was the interim between getting from the safety to being able to even tell one of my friends, because at the time that the use of words like gay was derogatory, and that was like, okay, I'm trying to not be that. I'm trying to prove to you that I'm not that, whatever that thing is. I'm not that. I might be this, but I'm not that. But I remember telling one of my friends for the first time at the age of 16. And I remember she responded to me, as many 16-year-olds might do even today, by saying, oh, my days, me too. Me too.
So what did she say? Tell me what she meant by me too.
So I wasn't thinking to go like, oh, I'm so pleased that you're also, no, that wasn't my reaction. I was thinking, why are you taking the piss right now? Why are you actually making fun of me? This is serious. I'm telling you that I'm really, I thought it highly unlikely. And it turns out that she was just on a journey of exploring and understanding herself. Right. And stemming from something around insecurities and things, and she quickly fell out of that identity very rapidly, but was very supportive, at that time. But all friends were not like that. Okay, some friends immediately dropped by the wayside. Definitely, the male presenting friends, the men, they were not part of the group that was informed about it. It was very much those in the feminine energy, the safety, and so it was very, very gradual.
Okay, and so just talk about what you mean by feminine energy, because I'm assuming anybody listening, that whole term feminine energy. So does it mean that you're a guy who is, you see, because when you talk about that, you're quite right. There are women. Can a woman have masculine energy? And you're saying a man with feminine energy. Tell me what we feel, or what you would sense if you're talking about the sort of feminine energy that made you feel comfortable. Because I'm just thinking you could have walked into, women who had masculine energy and not feel safe. Then what's the...
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's still something that I still feel, which has even separated me from my own communities, because even within the Black gay men's circle, you might look at other Black gay men who you could have dated or could have, entered into some type of interaction with, and you go, you remind me too much of, okay? And having to process that and go through and think, wait a minute, we're all queer here, or we're all gay, or we're all bisexual, whatever that thing is. This is supposed to be a safe space, but somehow that resistance of feeling, is this presentation that I'm seeing you, is it going to betray me in the way that people who looked like you betrayed me so many years ago? And so we talk about feminine energy. It's the opposite energy to that which was I associated with oppression, really. And so those people that did not give me that positive energy, did not support me, felt It made me feel unsafe. You know, feminine energy for me was the equivalent to safety at the time, and that's all
You
a
keep
child of
coming
love.
back to that there is a certain energy. So potentially you could have felt safe with the right masculine energy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but it was about you needed to feel safe. And when you hit that energy, is it something that you can tangibly look for, or is it just a sense of safety when you're around people?
I think that we give off energy that we're not even aware that we're giving off. Okay,
Right.
we enter into spaces and we throw our shoulders around and we let our, you know, our hands dangle at our sides, and we don't know the effect that that's having on people. Okay, people we're very perceptive, we're very spiritual people, we're very connected people with other humans, and we pick up on that energy. And so we even have to be really mindful of how we enter into spaces and how we present to other people, because we can be giving people an entire story, an entire narrative that we didn't intend to give them, but we're coming across as being aggressive, of being intimidating to our own people. I'm not talking about, you know, non people of
Yeah.
color.
Yeah.
We could even intimidate or push off or create negative vibes for people who look just like us without even realizing it. So it's just about being aware of the possibility and the ability to give off energy that could be either positive or negative, because that can create a feeling of either safety or danger, really, in that situation.
How do you springboard from that then? You've got a circle of females who are giving you this energy. Where do you go from there? Because you're talking about 16. Right
Mhm,
after that, we've got college.
mhm.
College, was that then into work, into uni? And how are you developing yourself?
Yeah, so one thing I want to go back to that you mentioned a bit earlier on is you mentioned religion.
Mm.
Religion is easy for me to practice. I'm very good based on my upbringing at practicing religion. I know where to stand, I know what to say, I know when to bow my head, I know when to raise my head, I know when it's time to kneel, or when it's time to just stand. I know because I was practiced in that.
Yeah.
Nobody could tell me I didn't know what was next on the program. Okay, I know what's next on the program and I know what response to give in the situation.
Yes.
So you revert back to what you're good at. When you're not feeling safe, when you're feeling out of your depths, you find yourself reverting back to the safety that is routine practice or religious practice or religion. And so that's the whole point. Why sometimes it's ironic that religion can actually feel safe. Sometimes it can feel comfortable. It can feel familiar and recognizable, you know, and you just want to sort of sometimes go back to that. So that's what I did. I was a musician. I play the violin. I play the piano. You know, I sing, and I did those things, and I did them well because I knew how to do them. And there was safety in the praise that you would get from the congregation, from your community. What a lovely song you're singing. Boy, I used to know somebody who could sing a song just like that. And you feel the pride and you feel, wow. So if I just keep doing this, nobody will know I'm gay. Nobody will criticize me. I would not feel unsafe. And I can just keep doing these things and the praise will keep going and I can buy a bit of time.
By time though, because you're saying then that there must have been still a rumbling going on then while you're buying time. Yeah, because I was just thinking you're right, because that's what I did in terms of my diagnosis and not managing it. What I did was revert to what I knew, which was
Yes.
just looking after people. And I kind of I thought that was because I was a woman, but I
Mhm,
think it is because looking after was what I was raised to do.
mhm,
'Cause
mhm.
for me, it was going to church to wait for that point that I was supposed to get married, because
Right.
that was the trajectory for a woman. All I ever saw happening was, you know, you grew up in the church and we cleaned the pews. That was what I saw in the church that I went to. The women cleaned the pews, sort out the plates, very much a secondary role. And in the meantime, God would send a man to you, and
Mhm.
then you'd get married, and that would be you're done. And
Always
I never saw
diligence.
anything. Yeah, and if I was lucky, I was going to end up in the choir, which I didn't because I couldn't sing. But yeah, you're right. Though there is this whole persona that we take on when it
Absolutely.
comes to church, and it's not, and it's based on a, I remember someone saying it's based on the belief that the more righteous we get,
Mhm.
the more we're going to buy into that place in the hereafter. And when you stand and look back now, I see us working really, 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 really hard. And to me, it's about digging underneath that. Why are we working hard at being so good? Because I wonder, is our sense of shame so great that we have to almost like wash it away? And that whole belief system where we are so defunct as human beings, we need to work hard at hiding who we are. But that's my aside. But you're saying, so you've been in church singing, playing instruments and everything, biding time. So what then forces you to say, I can't do this anymore?
Well, it's funny. I just want to go back to one thing that you said, and it's
Yeah.
that it's the hard working, it's all that stuff, which is ironic because you're also sort of alongside that. You taught the narrative that you're not good enough, and we're all imperfect, and so to be perfect, we've got to be perfect in Jesus Christ. So if we can't be perfect, why are we doing all this stuff again? Like, why are we working so hard? Like, why is this so difficult? When I thought we'd agreed that we were not going to be perfect. Okay, we're not perfect, so we're going to just go ahead and rest on that grace. That's conflicting. That's two different messages. And so that was when my questioning sort of started. I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at the stories of the man who had the issue, the crippled man for 40 years, or the woman with the issue of blood, or you're looking at people like, Zacchaeus, all these people who are like, they had their own little stories, and you're like, oh, these are great, interesting stories, but it seems like they were imperfect people, and actually, Jesus loved these characters more than any other characters in the Bible. The disciples were great, okay, but he was most interested in the worst. And so I'm like, so here we are trying to be the best, hoping to get the attention, and it's like, that's not the attention, that's not even the attention. So just based on the story, like as we know as the Bible, that was conflicting. And so I said, okay, we need to start asking questions. So we had, obviously, what some people might call Sunday school or Sabbath school. You go in and you ask questions, and there was always resistance. Nobody knew the answer to the questions. Nobody wanted to explore that, because that was even of the devil. To explore a question that we didn't have an answer to, that's the devil. Why are you letting the devil, giving the devil a foothold? And so you sort of think to yourself, wow, this can't be, like, this can't be it. So we start the praying process. Of saying, okay, they say if you just pray and you get down beside your bed and you do. I did that for ages. I remember keeping a diary at one point. I'm not really a big diary person, but I did all the things I thought I was supposed to do, and the heavens were silent.
Yes.
Okay, to put it really frankly, the heavens were silent. So I waited, and I was silent. I remember sometimes being really extreme and saying, I'm giving you 5 minutes. You try to put a limit. If you don't get back to me by the end of the day, I'm done. You sort of do all this. Yeah. And so it's and it was silent. The heavens were silent. The heavens are still silent. And so I said, if it's as simple as me sitting in the silence and you have a chance to speak, and you chose to say nothing about it, then I'm good. Because if it was that important and I was here willing with a complete open mind and I heard nothing, how urgent could the situation have been? Okay, so that's sort of the reason that I went through. But I went to uni. I still, even in high school, I was, dated to present. I had girlfriends in high school, and I went on to uni, and I had a long-term relationship then as well. That sort of naturally dissolved, toward the end of my uni experience. And I was, the type of uni I went to was quite like a small private faith college, actually university over in the United States. And the practice is that when you finish uni, you get engaged, you get married. Okay. And so you were sort of working toward getting to the last year of uni, and then you propose. What are we, 21, 22? Who are you proposing to? I look back at myself like, have you lost your mind? What a waste. Like, come on, take your time. What are you doing? But that was how we were supposed to present. That was the goal. We were encouraged to do that. And I remember going to visit my partner at the time's parents. And of course, in the true Christian way, you stay at one house, they stay at the other house, and then you can go and speak to the parents and ask for hand. Asking for hand at 21, asking for hand. Okay.
All right.
No job,
Give
no
me
job. Yeah, no job, but you're asking a hand. So, so I, you know, and I remember sort of going the night, and you know, they sort of almost endearingly sort of like, yeah, right, okay, you know, very wise adult people, and I'm being taken back, you know, sort of coming back to the place where I was staying, which was a friend of the family's, and I remember her dad was driving really slow. I was like, oh God, he's driving slow. Why is he driving? And he just said, you know, I know, right? I said, sorry. What he said? He said, well, you know that I know about the thing. I was like, what's the thing? Like, help me out, okay? You know, give me some context. And the fact is, it happens. But you know, well, the worst thing is when people try to hang on, and you know, a lot of people get hurt in the process. People get married, they change their mind, they have children, the children get hurt. And I was going, well, this has gone a really long way. And, you know, Mr. What's his name? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, this is unfair. I absolutely love your daughter. What are you saying? I would never do anything to hurt your child, because I was still determined to push through and do what I was being asked to do rather than what I knew I should have been doing. Got back to the place where I was staying, and I was going up the stairs. I remember seeing a little black thing on the stairs, and I couldn't, like, I thought I'd left my socks. I'm thinking, oh, these people think I'm going to be like, I'm a terrible guest. And I reached down to pick this thing up. Wasn't it a gun? Okay. A gun on the stairs. I don't know if it was loaded or not loaded, but the gun was on the stairs. And I just put the handle of the gun back down, and I went back up to my room, and I thought to myself, I said, God, if this is what it's leading to, if that is what this means, I don't want anything to do with this type of struggle, because it's not that serious.
But because in some ways what I find difficult is because we don't talk about it. It's like you said, you're going through a process where we are expected by 21 to be married. Yeah. 21. Because when I look back now, one of my friends was married. A lot of us were married. And for us, it was like a beauty contest. You know, all the girls were breaking their necks to line up to be married off to these guys. And I know there's been a lot of divorces since then, because we were so busy putting up the fronting it. We were busy getting married, not whether we were compatible. It was all, yeah, if you got the pastor's son, you picked off the top of the tree. But your identity as a woman was linked to the man that you married. And so suited come into it. It was whether the two of you were righteous enough and you got together to create this mythical lifestyle, this religious lifestyle, and our identities were based on what we thought people would expect of us.
Absolutely.
And not being able to, yeah, you're right, you're not able to say what you want, and there was me wanting to be more than somebody's wife, and not being able to step into that space, because for me, what I worried about is if I step out of line, you lose your community. If I step out of line and I'm not who you want to be, not only will I lose the community, but what have I got then? Because what you're told is out there, the world is hostile. And out there, anything less than what we're offering in here is not safe. And is a punishment for leaving the flock in some ways. You know what I mean? So you hit 21, this guy's dropping hints about I know. Did he ever kind of come out and just say what he thought he knew, or did he leave the it's horrible because I'm just thinking, did he leave the gun? Did they leave the gun?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think that the person I was staying with was an ex-copper, so that was, you know, that was my, I could assume it belonged to him. But I remember very clearly seeing it, and I could not believe that's what I was looking at, because I'd never seen a gun. I had no reason to have seen a gun. But I saw one that day, you know, and it was heavy. I remember thinking to myself, I didn't know a gun was that heavy, because why would I have ever known how heavy a gun would be?
Yeah.
So, and I got back up to my, you know, the room I was staying in, and I remember I got on my knees and I said, "That's it. We're not doing that. We're not going to do that, because it's not that serious. I'm not going to do that. Let me know when you need me. You know where to find me, because you're everywhere, right? You let me know." And that was it. That was the last time. And I remember that, you know, we sort of finished. That hit me really hard because I thought I'd played the game really well. I thought I was going to get to the finish line. I was going to make everybody happy. And I was pumping so much into this, trying to be this person. So that when it ended, sort of 2 months, 1 month, 2 months after that, she said, oh, this is not going to work out. And so, you know, looking back, it all adds up. Obviously, she was chatting to her parents were chatting to her, they were feeding each other, and that's good. And it's fair to her. And I've learned to accept that over the years, to say, actually, good on you to be brave enough to call it like you saw it, because you've actually, in doing so, you've liberated me as well. So you've liberated yourself, but you've liberated me as well. You let me go.
Yeah, I don't have to do it anymore.
No. But the impact that had on me, I remember that same month, probably around that same month, my car broke down. I lost my leadership role that I was in at the time. I was sort of taking care of the student flats, you know, so I would check in and make sure people were cleaning their areas and, you know, maintaining the building, which was helping to pay my tuition at the time. It was exam week. I remember I was so heavy with the situation. I failed my biostatistic exam. And I'm a public health practitioner, and the first biostats exam, my final, I actually failed, and I had to resit the exam. So just putting it out there, you can still become a public health practitioner if you fail biostats, but had to take it again. But I remember that day after day, I would, because the flats were sort of across the street, and you had to walk across, you know, quite almost like a motorway, like a dual carriageway across to get down into the campus. And I remember crossing the road, and I refused to look left, and I refused to look right, and I refused to cross on green, because I wanted to get hit. I wanted something to hit me, so that when it hit me and I died, people would know that I wasn't joking, and that I had tried my best. Oh God. That's where we were at. I did that for weeks. I did it for weeks. Many a close call, I tell you, but I did it for weeks because I just wanted to be heard in that situation. And that's the feeling when people talk about, you know, feeling suicidal, feeling, you know, that's the impact. And if you can still turn around and tell me it's because you haven't, there's nothing you can say after that sentence. Okay, it's because you haven't. Oh no, I've done everything I need to do. I've done everything I need to do. Have you done what you need to do to help me get through what I need to do? You know, that's my question. To that community, you know. And so I ran away to South Korea. You know, I went for a gap year, and I said, you know, I'm going to go to South Korea. I'm not going to deal with this community at all. I need to go away and to where nobody knows me, and I need to just get away. And I went for 10 months. And 6 years later, when I finished with my career experience, because that's what happens. You get there and you're like, wait a minute, this whole freedom thing is great. Why would I want to leave the freedom situation? I've got a job. They've flown me out here. I'm teaching sort of English, which is like I could do with my eyes closed, my hands tied behind my back. Why am I going to go?
Yeah, and in some ways, the psychological freedom is about putting down the stuff, all that stuff that you carried. Like, I grew up in the church, and I didn't see a place for women there. In the sense that the leadership roles or the ability to aspire. So I guess one of my questions for you now is, has the church changed for you now? Have you evolved? Have you made peace with church? Or is it still a case of it's back there?
The church experience and my story will always be my story. So that's not going to change. And I think there were certain aspects of my adulthood where I thought I could wash it away. You can go to the dirtiest club in underground London, okay? And people will be like, so what church do you go to? People know when they see a church person. They're not fooled by you trying to put on your black leather and put on your little fake piercings and your little necklace and trying to do a couple of buttons down to try and blend everybody else. They know. Because when you go through a church experience like that, you can't just wash that away. That's part of your existence. Yeah. It's part of the energy that you put off. You've gone back to that energy again. But one decision I did make for myself, true story, all that. So one decision I did make for myself is I said, I need to separate religion and spirituality, because something is telling me these two are not even supposed to be in the same place. But somehow one is sufficing for the other and one is covering for the other one. But they need to be in two separate places. because the confusion is where we're losing people. And so the one I set to the side was the religious aspect, this whole thing of having to be a place once a week or twice a week, sometimes more for some denominations. This whole thing of, you know, if I'm not on the pulpit helping with music or something else, something must be wrong with me, because we know that you play instruments. So why are you sat in the congregation? Why are you not helping out? What's got you struggling? What's got you to pray? I'm like, it wasn't my week. I was off the road to this. What are you talking about? You know, the people create stories, you know, in their head. So I don't want to have anything to do with that. But spirituality, things like being, showing gratitude, being mindful, reflecting, caring for other people, taking care of yourself, taking pride in your body, being mindful what you eat, being mindful what you drink, how much you drink, you know, things that you know are hurting you. This is that's a spirituality thing. I didn't need religion to tell me to do those things, but the things I learned in a religious context feed those things that I still live by today, and those same values of knowing when to apologize, being able to forgive and forget, you know, things that have happened. You know, these are basic, not murdering anyone. Can we just, you know, do we need to make the list longer? You know, there are basic things that we say, we think that they happen in isolation. People practice these things every single day. And then,
I know, but I think that's really interesting, because I think once I'd had my diagnosis, I thought it was a case of never darken the church's door again.
Never again,
Yeah. But what I did find was the same as you, that I had to make peace with my spiritual self and not religion, because I realized that the religion that I had thought should serve me wouldn't serve me, because it wasn't what I needed. And that I found, once I'd made peace with myself and developed a spirituality that worked for me. And it's like you said, it's not about cobbling anything together. Maybe it was about, because of my experiences, checking in on my inner integrity, what really works for me. And you're right, some of that is based off what I'd learned from church. But just like a parent, I looked at the church and said, I've seen the best and the worst of you. I'll take the best and leave the rest. And what I cultivated in terms of my own spiritual sense is, okay, then how does that make me feel? And is it in alignment with the spirit that I have inside?
And your new values, because you develop new values.
So we've been talking about that. You've developed your spiritual self. Church has informed that. Religion has informed that. Tell me about Black Beetle. Tell me about why you needed to create that space.
So Black Beetle Health, I think what a lot of people don't realize about Black Beetle Health is the name. People always say, but why the name? And I say, oh, well, it's so obvious to me, but I forget that I have to remember to explain that to other people. And it's based on something called biomimetics, so biomimicry. So I'm a scientist. I studied science as my first degree. And biomimicry or biomimetics really gives us a chance to think about examples that already exist in nature, in the way that nature is dealing with its problems of diversity and resilience and cohabitation and cooperation and symbiosis, and, you know, ways that nature is already finding answers to what it's doing. And we're going, quick, we got to think of an idea, do we? The examples are already there in nature for us to just look and see. Like, so symbiosis, the concept of animals, creatures working together. One might cast off something and the other creature says, oh, I can do something with that. That's a symbiotic relationship. You know, we talk about resilience. We know that every single winter the trees take all the nutrition back into their wood or into the bark, and then when spring comes, they release all that same nutrition. Nothing has died. It's simply gone into a new phase. And so the importance of going through phases and reserve protecting resources, so that you can do something at a later time, you know, or think about diversity. We know that without biodiversity, nothing's going to survive in the ecosystem. So everything's got to work together. So that's collaborative working, that's working with stakeholders. You know, they're all examples that we already know, but we've got to give credit where credit is due, and that's the nature, really.
So tell me the beetle. Why not an antelope, not the lion?
Yeah, so I thought about like, oh, I should call it Black Panther. No, they're going to take me down immediately. They're not going to fund that. And nor was I actually seeking funding. Really, I was just starting with an Instagram. I wanted to start on Instagram. I was going to post a couple of cute little quotes. You know, I'd started my doctorate by then. Finished my first year of my doctorate, and I just wanted to, you know, give it a little, you know, a little place to just dump some of the learnings. Okay. And I looked at, you know, black bear, that's you know, black panther, no, black. Let me see. Okay, Google black creatures and animals. Let's see which one is the best one. Literally the process. I remember being downstairs in the kitchen on a Sunday, I think it was, and just thinking, what can I, you know? And then the beetle came along. I started reading characteristics of the beetle. Okay. They communicate with rhythm and vibration. I said, that sounds like us. You know, it comes in all shapes and sizes. That sounds like us. You know, as a community now. You know, oh, it's got a hard shell on the outside, but it's soft on the inside. That's how we're often interpreted. Okay, as being hard on the outside but soft on the inside. Okay, and the list sort of went on as far as its resilience. You know, all the different colors it comes in, all the shades, and thinking that black is actually inclusive of all the colors. And so I'm thinking we also speak to colorism in that as well. And there's been some feedback. People said, don't you know, they used to call us roaches. You know, why would you choose a beetle? Okay, if you want to read it in that way, that's fine. But here's my interpretation of that thing. Okay.
Or maybe we turn it around as well.
Yeah.
Like using the N word. You take something that's negative and turn it into something positive. But it's really
that's a bad example, but well, maybe the Q word, maybe more than the N word.
Yeah. Try and get the context and the gist of what I'm saying, because I don't use it at all, because I don't like it, but people have reinvented it. But yes, so I am now it makes sense to us, because I had no idea why it was a black beetle. So the concept, tell me about what Black Beetle wants to achieve and who it's aimed at.
Yeah, so my sort of initial research I was looking at in my doctorate was linked to something I did do in my master's degree, which was looking at sort of barriers to why people don't go into testing for HIV. And at the time I was looking at sort of men with sex with men, so MSM, which we've sort of now extended to sort of GBMSM, so gay, bisexual, and other men with sex with men. Or we've even extended that even further to say sort of black sexual minority men, you know, so it just depends what group you're talking to. So I'm looking at sort of ratio sexual minorities as a whole now, whereas my journey sort of started with just MSM in South Korea, specifically because I was living in South Korea at the time. And then I tried to get through the research and I felt distant. I felt distant from that research and I felt like I was getting pushed out because they're like, I mean, it's Asian men, you know, we feel a certain way about, you know, people who are not actually Asian working on the project. I felt all of that energy, okay, in the room, and I decided, okay, let me back away from this. Published that article, went to a journal, fine, great. Never heard much more about that. Had a chance to do my doctorate, and I said, how can I now duplicate this same conversation in my own communities that I relate to? Because no one can then tell me I can't have this conversation. My identity, my experience, the same barriers, all the sociocultural factors I talk about, like stigma, like stereotyping, like faith, like shame, like fear, like mistrust, the list goes on. I recognize all of those. I've experienced all of those. So no one can take my lived experience from me. No one can say I'm not suitable for a study. I'm like, sorry, I was just trying to understand my own experience. And if that's upset you, you know, you have to explore that within yourself. So I sort of shifted it and I created this concept of evaluating the effectiveness of sort of existing sexual health services. Well, I think it was just sexual health services at the time for Afro-Caribbean, Black African men of sex with men. That's since expanded a bit to sort of looking at sort of a greater spectrum. And I looked, and the examples that existed for services and examples in the UK, in modern Britain, as I call it, that really catered to these groups did not exist. I saw a few examples and the model was good and I liked that. Or I saw, I'd heard of, you know, plans that people had and they're okay. But I really wanted to find out, okay, so we've created services, so how's that going? How effective is that? And I just wanted to ask the question. I wasn't saying that services didn't exist or that people hadn't tried. I just wanted to find out how it's going, okay? And if it's not going well, how can we improve that? And so that's now sort of expanded to being, understanding, you know, how effective services are at this point for racial sexual minorities, such as LGBT, you know, Black and people of color in modern Britain. And that's what I'm looking at now. So, but I didn't find the place that I could use, I could use that, that I could explore that. It didn't exist. So I said, okay, what's in my hand? We've done this already. I have other examples of what's in my hand, what's in my hand, what's in my hand. Another Moses reference for any people listening to that. That's a Moses reference when God said, what's in your hand? Your rod. So I said, what's in my hand?
That point in church.
That's true. Yes. So it's, and I said, okay, if you don't see it, create it. Okay, so I started my little Instagram. I said, okay, well, I see some people got a Facebook, I'm creating Facebook. Okay, then people started reaching out in the DM saying, oh, could you come and be on this panel? Could you? I was thinking, does anyone in your organization? Anyone in my organization? It's just me. Okay, and so I started reaching out I said, oh, this is actually a thing. Like, people are actually like tapping into this. I think we probably had 10 followers at the time. It was mainly people I already knew, and it was, it was just a really such a stab in the dark, really seeing if it was going to actually take flight. And I didn't try to do it, just to be clear. Okay, Black Beetle Health happened. Okay, it just happened. It's still happening. Sometimes things pop into my inbox and I go, interesting, didn't know we were doing that. Okay, because it's just happening organically. When you put something behind on a table and put the community behind it, things start happening. Things just start happening. And so I think it's just amazing to see how that happens. So I started attending. I reached out to friends who were, maybe doing similar things, public health. What are you study mental health? Still studying it? Come on. Like just put people and said, we'll learn as we go. We'll figure it out. Come on, everyone just come in.
That's lovely, though. That's lovely, because you keep thinking, right, I've got to get bags of money. I've got to know people for a long time. And like you said, a doctorate and then a doctorate on top of the doctorate. And I've got to go to the bank with my business plan. And you're just saying, just come.
I said, I can't pay you anything. So I was paying them out of my charity salary at the time. I said, okay, I want to send you to this thing. I'll pay for your tram. Yeah, how much is it? 7 quid. Oh, 7 quid. Oh, anyway, I'll pay for it. And I would just pay, and I would count my losses. And if I had to walk and they had to ride, I would walk and they would ride. Okay. If they had to eat and I had to not eat, then they would eat and I wouldn't eat. Because I had to count my losses. And people stuck. That core team really stuck with me. And obviously, the team has changed over the year and a half that we've been in operation. But it's coming. It's where it needs to be. It's landing right where it needs to be to ensure that we're doing justice to the community. And it's peer-led, it's community-driven, it's organic. It incorporates an advisory board of more experts in the field who work in other capacities. We have a board of trustees of highly skilled people across communications and business and arts and culture and hopefully public health soon. So if you're listening to this and you're a public health practitioner and you think you'd like to sort of take on a trustee role, talk to me, drop me an email, because we want to really make sure that it's comprehensive and representative. So it's, and it's, people sort of think PLC organization, oh, right, okay, everyone say, you mean Black? And I was really determined not to make it just another Black organization. I said, if we're going to say PLC, let's look at the spectrum, all different shapes, all different sizes, all different colors, all different backgrounds, all different languages. Let's try it. Okay, so really trying to diversify. It just so easily slips into Black, and that's important, and there's a space for that. But how do we work like nature is working? Okay, how do we work like nature is working, and bringing it back to that concept of bringing them as they come, piecing them together, and finding out how that biodiversity concept can be mimicked in this space. How can we do that?
So, because we started this by saying Black activism. So you're saying in that description that activism isn't about us all being the same. You're saying it evolves, a natural evolution into something that works for us. Is it beyond, have we got caught up in our own stereotype of what a Black activist looks like? What do you think?
Well, I call it, even myself, I call it Blacktivism, because I think Blacktivism is its own thing sometimes, and I think that I've probably even put that on my socials somewhere, that, Blacktivist, because there's a time and a place. And I think that where Black activism takes center stage is because it's who shouts the loudest, okay? But it's also about sometimes who has been the most oppressed. And due to things like colorism, it often leaves Black people down the end of the spectrum. And so we end up being the ones that actually experience the worst. Someone called me light skinned the other day. I was shocked, because I've never considered myself to be that. It must have been good lighting. Okay, so because for me, I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing, and so we even do it to each other, and we say, oh, it's okay because you're a certain shade. Okay, you can be a certain shade and be hard to look at. Okay, so you can, so it's not about that. It's about that energy yet again. But Black activism tends to just take the mic in the center stage because it's representative of the most oppressed group of people. I was having a conversation with one of the members of my team the other day, and we were talking about colorism and what it's like being a certain shade, and how worshipped fairer skin still is. And so we have that light skin privilege, we have people in smaller bodies privilege, we have people in taller bodies privilege. There's all the different types of things before we even go into white, before we even go into non-black. There's loads of privilege right here in this circle. And so Blacktivism does have its own place. I'm not saying that that's not important. What I'm saying is there are allies. Okay, there is also political blackness. Okay, we need to address as well. There's being blackness, but there's also political blackness, and all of the people on the spectrum who come under that same umbrella of.
Tell me what political blackness is.
Oh, you need a new session for that.
Okay, in 1 minute, tell me what.
Okay, in 1 minute.
Blackness
so political blackness is less about the color of the person's skin, what shade it is. And it's unified based on a joint experience, okay, that those people have had. And when people group together based on the oppression they've received, suddenly everyone is friends in that space. Interesting. Okay, so colorism is no longer an issue. If people of 3 different shades go into a space where someone does not like non-white people, okay, all 3 are going to get it. You can be Asian, you can be black, you can be African, you can be Afro-Caribbean, okay? You can be Sri Lankan. We know, there's plenty of Sri Lankan who is darker hue, okay? You're all politically black, and you will be equally disliked, okay? Even within the concept of colorism, where we know there's light skin privilege, but and good hair privilege and long hair privilege.
Yeah.
Right, okay, it all exists. But I'm also wondering if people take time to consider the political blackness and what that entails, and who should come under that umbrella and that rule in this together, really, as a community.
Okay. So who do you want? Yeah, no, because I'm thinking you're touching on some of the, well, I always hear the word self-stigma, but we're not addressing some of the unhealthy attitudes we've picked up. We've got 5 minutes left. What would you want somebody to take away from activism or about Black Beetle and about yourself as a man, gay man? What are the key takeaways? For me, I was going to say something positive, but I don't even think we want that. I was saying, what are the key takeaways if someone were listening today?
Yeah, so there's nothing there's no such thing as too black. There's no such thing as not black enough. There's no such thing as I'm better than you because it's about what you know about people. Hey, let's be honest about that. Because we're all just human, okay? And there's this whole thing about, okay, I'm living with HIV, I'm not living with HIV, I work in sexual health versus I seek help for my sexual health outcomes, okay? Great, okay, so does that mean that you're immune? Does it mean that you're not going to be that you'll never be at the table getting a shot in your bum, or that you're never going to have to do a swab? No, because you're human. So thanks for sharing the information. I hope you're also getting tested. Thank you. Just pushing it back and saying, actually, let's just even the playing field. Let's be fair to ourselves and to other people, and recognize that we all play a role in the biodiversity of life and well-being and progression and and togetherness. We all play our role in that, but there's no superior role to another role because you've done something, you had something. We're all in this. We're all in this, and we're all like equally sort of susceptible to when life can go downhill. Okay, and life can go,
for anybody at any time.
Absolutely. So I think it's just like, it's a bit like, let's humble ourselves. Okay, let's bring it right down. Okay, and remember sort of what our common experiences look like.
Yeah.
And who the oppressor is. Sometimes it can be us. We can be our own oppressor as well. Okay, according to Audre Lorde, you can read more about sort of that in some of her writings, and it's we can be our own oppressors as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
And unify on that front. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was brilliant. What would be really useful for me is that I know after listening to this, people may want to contact you. So would it be okay for us then to have your details and your link so that if people are interested, we can refer them directly to Black Beetle? And
Yeah.
if there are other, you mentioned books, so if you have your book and you want us to put it as part of the speakeasy, so that if there are young lads or girls out there who are feeling, how do I manage being different and being Black and do it positively, would that be okay to use the title? And yeah, can you tell us what the title is so that we can check?
Yeah, so so it's not my book. I'm writing a chapter for that book, and that's yet to be put forward for publication. So I'll leave it to the editor to sort of promote that. But when it does come out, we will be promoting it on our platform as well. And of course, that's for lads, girls, and all people. Okay, so non-binary people as well. Just want to.
I apologise. Yeah.
Just want to support our siblings. Yeah, and so, but you can reach us sort of at blackbeetlehealth.co.uk is our website, so www.blackbeetlehealth.co.uk. If you want to drop us an email, just a general query, or you want to just let us know something, you can reach us on admin, admin at blackbeetlehealth.co.uk. If you want to speak to me directly, my email is harvey@blackbeetlehealth.co.uk. So that's HARVEY at Black Beetle Health with double E's, so not Beetle like the Beatles. Okay, so Beetle is the creature Beetle. So blackbeetlehealth.co.uk. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, where we have a mailing list. If you want to join a mailing list and be a direct recipient of some of our resources that we put out, or know about other events we're doing, hop on it. We're there.
No, that'd be absolutely brilliant. And don't forget, for those of you who are listening, if there's anything that has touched your heart, contact Harvey direct, or don't forget we are the BHA Speakeasy crew, and we are available at Speakeasy, SPEAKEASY at the bha.org.uk, and either myself, Jeff, or Chantel will answer any queries we've got or redirect you to Harvey. But anything that we've said today, if you want to follow it up, please feel free. Don't be a stranger. So I think, Harvey, we've reached the 59th minute and it felt like no time at all.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely good fun. We'll be doing another one of these next month. We've got one scheduled for once a month, every month. Would you be interested in coming back again? Because I've had such a fantastic time. It'd be great to explore more of the stuff that you're doing, and your evolution would be absolutely fantastic and, more to the point, really inspirational. So that'd be great.
If you'll have me.
Oh no, definitely. Thanks for everything. Right, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. This has been Yvonne at Speakeasy, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.